All right, I'll say good day to you this day of your time. This transmission is basically titled The Thanksgiving Message, since we understand that this is your time of year in which you honor the idea of giving thanks and appreciation and gratitude. Not that you cannot do that every day, not that it wouldn't be wise to do that every day, but we understand that you have seasons in which you focus on certain ideas, certain concepts, this being the one of giving thanks. So we will at this point remind you of something we have discussed before to make sure that you remind yourself to remain in alignment with the attitude of gratitude. And that is what we have termed before the AAA scenario of acknowledgement, appreciation, and allowance. The idea is in acknowledging what you do have, what you are appreciative of, what you are grateful for in your life, and not acknowledging the idea of the negative. In other words, not focusing on the idea of the things that you have in the past defined in a negative way, not that you cease to recognize when something may be negative, but that you remain in a state of grace, acknowledging what you do have rather than acknowledging what you do not have. And remaining in that state of gratitude and appreciation will again guide you and accelerate you in your life, where synchronicity can open up in miraculous and magical ways by staying in that state of appreciating all the connections you have, all of the things in your life, all of the people, all of the experiences, everything that you do have, that you do experience, that comes into your life, acknowledging it in a positive way as having a reason to be there, even the things you don't prefer, because again, you know it's got to be there for a reason. So I remind you of this day, so that you can stay in a state of thanks and allow yourself to feel the appreciation and gratitude for what is given to you, for what you have attracted in your life, and not focus on what you do not have. Because when you focus on what you do have, more will come, because you're opening the door for that. Focusing on what you do not have closes the door and prevents anything you truly need from coming forward to be recognized by you consciously. So allow yourself to remain in that state of acknowledgement and then appreciate what you have, and then allow what needs to come, for it will be what you need at that moment, even again, if it's what you don't prefer. It's got to be there for a reason, and it may give you the opportunity to examine your belief systems, which is always important, and a main step in the formula that we have shared with all of you, recognizing your beliefs, recognizing how to stay in a positive state so you can gain the benefit from whatever arrives, whatever shows up, whatever manifests in your life. For it is always capable of being used in a positive way. Again, we're not saying that you start calling negative things positive things. You can still observe something to be negatively oriented or negatively created from fear, from negative belief systems. But by staying in a positive state, even with that recognition, you allow yourself the opportunity to use what manifests in a positive way. And this is part of allowing the idea of what needs to come next to come more easily, more effortlessly. So acknowledging, appreciating, and allowing the AAA formula will help you remain in a state of grace and remind you every day of what you are blessed to experience in your life, and remind you why you chose this life, why you chose to have these experiences to accelerate your soul's experience of growth. For as you know, physical reality, being the experience of density, being the experience of time and space, affords you the opportunity to discover yourself from new points of view, new perspectives, in ways that cannot be done in spirit, in ways that allow you to accelerate more quickly, to grow more quickly, by facing the challenges that come into your life head on, more directly. And staying in that state of grace, and staying in that state of appreciation and gratitude for what comes your way will allow you to work with it constructively, creatively, positively, and transform anything that comes to you, created out of negativity, into something that you can use and apply in your lives positively, and allow you more clarity, more sentience, more awareness, and more clear consciousness of what your life path and theme is all about, to allow you to be more of who you truly are, to align with your true core frequency and vibration. So this Thanksgiving and every day, allow yourself to acknowledge, appreciate, and allow your life to flow easily, effortlessly, joyfully, peacefully, and lovingly. And you will allow yourself to experience a growing sense of grace and gratitude and appreciation for all things in your life as they reflect more and more the state of being that is aligned with your Thanksgiving message. In return for allowing us to remind you of the AAA formula, so important in going into the window of open contact, in return we ask now, in what way may we continue to be of service to you? You may begin with your questions and your... The transmission this day of your time is called the Shells of Earth. We are going to briefly describe the different layers or frequencies that are closely connected to your physical reality, and in which different kinds of experiences can be had. Of course, you have the physical shell, which you are very familiar with as physical beings, having a physical experience, but with a slight shift in frequency, you can experience what we call the elemental shell. And the elemental shell is where you meet elemental beings, elemental expressions of consciousness, such as pukas, fairies, sylphs, silkies, flaming salamanders, and many other representations that elemental consciousness has the ability to present itself in. Now, these shells don't really move outward per se. That's just the way you might experience them a little bit in physical reality from your space-time perspective. They're all right here, like everything is, but they're just slightly different frequencies that are still very strongly connected to physical reality. So by allowing yourself, in whatever way works for you, through meditation, through other exercises, to imagine and ponder and get in touch with the idea of these different frequencies, based on whatever symbols you already understand them to be, you will connect and be able, if you practice, to communicate in different ways with the different forms and expressions of consciousness that can present themselves to you in these different frequency shells. So, as we said, there's the physical, now there's the elemental. Elemental beings are kind of like a part of the overall energy of the earth, but they don't have to necessarily continue in a particular form. They're much more flexible, much more malleable in how they present themselves. They can present themselves as very solidly physical, but it's more like they're on a level that's akin to the idea of moldable clay, where they can go back into the energy and disappear, become non-physical, or at least quasi-physical, in a way that you cannot perceive them. And then they can crystallize themselves in some physical form, and that's why they can also be shapeshifters, taking many different forms. So by focusing on whatever affinity you have in a relaxed state, an open-minded state to the elemental shell, and practice this on a regular basis, you can develop more communication, more awareness, more ability to perceive elemental beings, maybe even slightly before they make themselves more solid, because you can extend your senses by following the formula, and that makes you more capable of seeing things that are invisible to you now, but can become visible to you as you extend the sensitivity of your senses. So by interacting with the elementals, you can gain a deeper appreciation and understanding of your place in nature by relating to their place in nature within the elemental shell, and you can become more flexible in your experience of space and time by forming that relationship with the elementals. After that, there is the frequency of the etheric shell, and this is what includes the idea that you typically refer to as the lower astral realm. While that may seem to be the idea of a realm or a frequency or a shell that is completely in spirit, it actually has a lower frequency component that connects directly to physical reality. It's a borderline, a borderland in which spirit beings can also make themselves appear to be relatively solid, or at least to some degree visible. This is where the idea of ghosts reside. So the etheric shell is what allows, in its frequency, a spirit being to lower its frequency to be closer to the idea of the physical shell, the physical frequency, while not completely actually being so. But the lower astral realm, the etheric shell, can allow them to present a representation of themselves as physical, because it's a low enough frequency, close enough to physical reality, for you to be able to perceive them. Especially, again, if you raise your vibration even just a little bit, you can not only perceive the elementals when they make themselves come closer to physical reality vibrations, but also the idea of spirits who may take on the qualities of the etheric shell in the lower astral frequency to make themselves visible and appear very solid and even be touchable to you while still remaining in spirit. It's just that they're using the vibration of the etheric shell to imprint themselves a little bit more into your physical reality experience. Then, beyond the elemental and etheric shells, you have the archetypal shell. This is where consciousness resides and presents itself in kind of a small series of group collectives that represent symbolically different attributes of beings. So it's a more of a symbolic representation, but you can still experience many of the representations of consciousness as if they are, in many ways, physical beings, but these are more representative of qualities. So you can create the idea of what you call god or goddess presentations, even angelic presentations. The idea, again, being that they're imprinting themselves in the archetypal shell to represent a certain quality or experience of energy. In other words, examples like motherhood, fatherhood, childhood, or the idea of elemental ideas, not in the same elemental shell, but the idea of the old concepts of elemental ideas. The sun, the moon, water, fire, earth, air. These kinds of things are presented in the archetypal shell, which is a symbolic representation, but can take on physical representations that would be familiar to you. They can look like human beings, they can look like demigods, they can look like the elements themselves, like a fire being, a water being, an air being, an earth being. They can take on many natural qualities to symbolically represent an entirely large concept that builds up the concept of physical reality in components. So you have the idea of, as I said, the earth vibration, the fire vibration, the spirit vibration. These things take on this quality of being archetypal symbols that represent whole entire concepts or directions or qualities of things that are close to your experience of physical reality. Then beyond the archetypal shell, there is the collective shell. And this means simply the collective consciousness of your entire planet, everything on it, not even just humans, but everything on it. The trees, the rocks, the sea, the animals. And it gives you an opportunity to experience your way of connecting to the cosmos while still retaining a connection in a grounded state to physical reality. The collective consciousness has been represented through different beings, through ascended masters and various teachers throughout your history, being that they would tap into that collective and sort of channel it to you. Beings like Jesus, Krishna, Buddha, Vavoka, so on and so forth, Mary. All of these kinds of beings in various forms have been able to tap into the collective of your planet, the higher mind of all of you, so to speak, to bring through information, to share information. But of course, this doesn't mean that each and every one of you can't tap into this on your own. To access the collective information that you may require here and there, now and then, to apply in your lives in a way that allows you to be more balanced, more positive, more powerful, more energetic in your expression of physical reality. So you have these different shells, and there are others, but the ones that go beyond the collective are not as closely connected to your physical reality. They then include the idea of going into spirit, higher dimensions, so on and so forth. And it doesn't mean, again, you can't tap into them, but these shells, the physical, the elemental, the etheric, the archetypal, and the collective, are the ones that are the vibrational levels most closely associated to your experience of physical reality, and on which you rely, whether you know it or not, on which you tap into, whether you know it or not, more often than not, to guide you in life and to experience the connections that you may feel to nature and the collectivity of your entire species and your reality as you experience your journey on Earth. So allow yourself to practice this by opening up in your imagination, whether through a meditation or whatever technique you wish. Even gardening can do it because you're close to the earth and close to nature and start to feel yourself as connected to nature. And even the idea of the cryptic meditations that Willa has delivered to all of you will aid and assist you in getting in touch with the elemental level and maybe even the etheric, because again, physicalized spirits of the lower astral are also part and parcel of the cryptic and nocturnal journeys. Then you can go into parallel realities at another time. But first, gain some insight and gain some familiarity with the etheric shell and the archetypal shell and the collective shell, along with the elemental and the physical. And you will feel more things happening synchronistically that contain and include experiences within those shells, so that you broaden and enrich your experience of physical reality beyond the physical shell, but only into those shells that include the ability to connect to physical reality in a way that serves you best in life, on your path, on your journey of being more of who you truly are. We thank you for allowing us to share this idea with you today. And in return for the gift you have given us of interacting with each and every one of you, we ask now, with your questions and dialogue, how may we be of service to you?